Thinking about it. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of the newly revamped Bear News Teammates. We've got a bit of a Young Cub special today, so I'm joined by Archie, Shannon, and Josh Porter. Arch, Shan, and Josh Porter, how are we, mate?
All right, thank you.
All good.
Good, thanks, Josh. Yeah, good.
Excellent. Not so much young cubs anymore, boys. Both living the university life. Are you both in halls?
No, I'm in my own house now. I'm second year, so I'm living in a house with 3 other lads. So yeah, it's not bad.
What about you, Ports?
I'm in halls, yeah.
And you'd be a fresher, Ports, weren't you, this year?
Yeah, I was a fresher this year. Got to live that
Ports,
life.
enjoy that.
You have missed out, mate. Shannon's the second year.
Aye.
You will know what Freshers Week is like. I remember
was,
back in the day at Loughborough University.
Few of the socials were interesting too, but yeah, not bad.
I suppose it's helped Ports with the old weight gain. There was obviously the chance that you could expand when you went to university. But it seems, mate, to pay you a compliment, it seems you're in fine fettle, Josh.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you. I did my best to watch my food.
Excellent. And we will all, throughout the course of this interview, try and ignore that disgusting poster which is behind Archie Shannon. I mean,
it had to be there, didn't it?
It had to be, really.
You know,
absolutely ridiculous. Right, we'll get started. So I guess we'll kick off with you, Port. So obviously you're Newcastle, is it that you're in? How's the off season been for you, mate? And how you been coping during lockdown?
It's not been bad. Like, you sort of just get used to it. I was quite lucky. I get on quite well with my flat, so I can't imagine having had like a personality clash and just not enjoyed living, being forced to stick around with the same 4 people, sort of thing. But yeah, so yeah, it's been decent. Really enjoyed it. Can't wait to get exploring the town a bit more when everything opens up again.
Yeah, it's a pretty decent town. Is Newcastle?
Yeah, so I've heard.
Jesmond in particular seen Jay Ball grace its presence a couple of times. There's been much cricket reports, obviously given all the restrictions and everything. Have you managed to get a bat and a ball in your hand yet with the university team?
No, there's been nothing from the university team. I had an email last week about them trying to sort trials, and they reckon they will get some cricket in at some point, but they don't know when yet, because they seem to think trials will be hampered by Rule of 6. But they said they will be in touch in the next couple of weeks. So we've got Easter break started today, so I assume they'll be in touch over the next couple of weeks or so.
Oh, good stuff, mate. Fingers crossed you can get back into it. What about you, Shan? How's it been for you?
There's not been much cricket, mate, but yeah, overall it's been fine. Chilling most days, getting a bit of running done. A few programs set by the union, obviously, in the chat with us. So yeah, it's been all right, mate. I enjoyed it, to be honest. Made the most of a bad lot.
Good stuff. Great to hear, boys. So, Shan, obviously, we'll start with you, mate. So you're back after is it a 3-year gap? Yeah. So you obviously went to the dark side of South Notts and played for Woolerton for a couple of years. So obviously a great opportunity for you to play a bit of regular first team cricket. So I guess what drove the decision to come back to Cookney and what you're looking forward to this season?
From the start, mate, it's since I was like 10, it's all I've ever known, really. Turned up, rocked up in that sports hall, and it was a club that made me feel like home. Don't get me wrong, I thoroughly enjoyed Woolerton and that, but I just felt like it was a time to come back home. There's external reasons also, but I do love the club. I love the lads around it, and obviously you want to get back to winning trophies. So let's hope we can, do that.
No, absolutely, mate. I think it's great to have you back. And I guess over to you, Port. So Shan kind of alluded to it there. You boys have obviously grown up playing together. You've grown up, playing in what is a very successful Cookney team. So I spoke to Bags last week, and he was kind of saying how he's seen Cookney evolve and become a successful team. I guess you boys have only ever known that success. So how does that drive you? How's that shaped you in terms of the way you approach the games, approach training, all that type of stuff?
It's sort of, for me, it's been like right from the start, the sort of standards that the club sets have always been there, and that's where you're expected to meet. It's always been the case with the field, and I'll always remember doing the fielding drills with Mozza every Thursday without fail at the start. You'd get everyone to that sort of level of fielding as the first team, everyone doing the drills, and you weren't allowed to sort of let that side of your game slip. That needed to be at sort of top level. And then it's just the sort of the early turnouts for me also kind of drive me. Trying to get to training that half an hour early, hit those few extra balls, take those extra couple catches, make sure I'm raring to go for a good net bowl. Those sort of things.
Definitely, it's a different mindset. It's a different way to approach training and certainly approach games. Obviously, Shan, you've been at Woollerton as we mentioned for the last 3 years. We've now got Mozza back this year, so you're used to work with Mozza. So looking forward to being back working with a full-time coach and working specifically with Moz.
Oh yeah, bro. I mean, he's a legend of the club in a way. He's helped me come on leaps and bounds from when I was a youngster, and he's always there to talk to and improve your game. So yeah, it's a brilliant addition to have Moz back. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. And your thoughts, Ports? Obviously, you've grown up with Moz. Great to have him back.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic news that he's back. He's sort of been he's been there throughout my entire sort of development. Because I joined the club when I was 12, and he's just sort of been there throughout. I've had one-to-ones with him, and he's sort of been the main focal point of my sort of cricketing development.
Yeah, definitely. As I said, I've mentioned a couple of times, I worked with Moz when I was back in Welbeck days, and that structure and that kind of winning mentality that he brings, I think, is second to none. So I think everybody said the same, haven't they, since the news has been announced? But it's definitely great to have Moz back on board. Great that he's going to get more and more involved with second and third teams in the youth setup as well. I think that's going to set the club in great stead moving forward. So I've kind of touched on this a little bit, but I'm just interested to get a bit of a perspective from you guys who've come up through third teams and second teams, breaking into the first team. There's obviously a lot of competition for places. There's you two guys, there's Dadlow, there's Joey Hayes, there's Tongi, there's those type of people who are kind of on the periphery of the the second and the first team. How much does that drive you? I'll come to you first, Ports. How much does that drive you, and how much does that create competition, I guess, between you and Archie, maybe playing for one place within the first team? Is it healthy competition, or can it get in the way sometimes?
No, me and Archie have always had that friendly competition right from, because we played at school together as well. So right from like sort of year 9 onwards, we've always had that sort of healthy rivalry. And I think it's great because it just drives each of us to push each other to go that extra yard, put that extra hour in at training. Yeah, really, that's the sort of drive. I think it's the mentality it creates. Yeah, we're a really, really strong club this year. We made a couple of really useful signings. And yeah, really looking forward to this season because I think the club can go really far with it.
No, I totally agree, mate. And Shan, same for you. Is it healthy competition between you and Ports? Or?
Yeah, it is, mate. It's between everyone. You've got to hopefully by that competition getting higher and higher, it can raise the standards of the youngsters, and then progressing through it creates a whole better feel and better vibe around the whole different teams. So yeah, it's brilliant, mate.
It definitely does. It's an interesting point you make, Archie, actually, and how much now you're stepping up more into a senior role, within the club. How much influence can do you think you can have on youngsters, training wise, putting an arm around a shoulder? Do you think you're in that position, or obviously you're still learning your own game?
I think there's an element of both of it, mate, to be honest, because we are getting older. Don't get me wrong, we're coming up to 20 , which sounds bizarre.
I'm 33 this year, Shan, so James Hall is 45.
It sounds bizarre for us. But yeah, no, it is definitely great. I mean, we can be an influence on the younger lot, like the older lot are to us and have been. So, it's leaps and boundaries. Everyone loves it, mate. So yeah, it's good.
So I think, speaking of my own experience, it gives you something to aspire to. And when you see young, 18, 19, 20-year-old lads but not just breaking through into first team cricket, but, being really successful in playing first team cricket, I think it gives everyone a bit of a boost as well. And it's always good to have you young'uns knocking around the dressing telling us all about TikTok and
oh no.
And equally me to take you on those musical journeys. We've got a bit of David Bowie, a bit of Oasis, a bit of Joy Division.
Oh, I love it.
Come on,
love it.
Come on, it's all about those influences. Right, we'll move on to the main part of of our chat today, which is around teammates. So I did this with Bagsy last week, so interested to see if you guys have got any differing opinions to Bagsy. So I'll ask you both the same questions, and we'll see where we get to, boys. Obviously, there's been no prep for this, so we're absolutely flying off the handle on this type of stuff. But we'll, as I did last week, start with a couple of cricket badger questions, and I'll come to you first, Shan. Who was your first mate at Cookney?
My first mate at Cookney? Wow. I think I was about 8. I think it was Connor Garnett. obviously fellow Leeds, the instant bonds there, isn't it? Marching on together, we're all Leeds, aren't we? And that, so yeah.
No, we're not. No, we're not.
Yes, we are. Come on.
Port?
It probably would have been Arch, to be fair.
Nice, isn't it?
We kind of met. We met on a couple of like induction days at workshop, and then I remember playing against him at Trent, and we got absolutely hammered while he was there. And then I joined Cookney that summer, and so that was sort of where he was my first mate there. Yeah.
I'm feeling the love on the call.
Little in between us moment.
I'm feeling the love.
Little in between us.
There we go. Friend. Port, over to you. Who did you look up to as a youngster? And you dare say 2 names. You can if you want, Port.
The first one, I definitely have to say Will Butler's been one of my biggest sort of driving influences, particularly when I became sort of that fringe member in the ones. I think he was still running the side. I played a couple of Sundays with him, and I just remember he's always the first one to come and put an arm around your shoulder. He'll back you to the moon and back. It's just always got that sort of drive and passion, and he's really influenced my sort of mentality and the mental side of the game for me.
No, absolutely, mate. Shan?
I think for me, when I was young and I first joined Cookney, and when I started like coming to terms with second team, first team cricket, I'd say an element of all of them, to be honest, everyone that was involved, because they definitely helped me and guide me through like certain areas where they might have more experience, and they grantedly did because of the older stage. So I'd say an element of everyone, mate, that's helped me, definitely.
No, I'd agree with that, mate. And when I was coming through youth teams at Welbeck, there was still, those older people in the second team and fringe first team that had a lot of an influence on you. So I would definitely agree with that, mate. Shan, back to you. Who is the worst bowler to face in the nets?
Worst bowler to face in the nets? I mean, Trent Lawford bowls an heavy ball. I'll tell you that. He bowled a heavy ball. I'd say he was one that on that bouncy indoor. Interesting.
Flying off a length off Big Trent. Port?
I'd have to say Arosh for me. I remember facing him indoors and outdoors, and I think he's just that bit skiddier than Trent. You just didn't know whether it was going to come flying past your sort of shoulder, head, or he was going to knock your middle stump out with the one that comes back in. And it was, that was definitely always an interesting one when I see him warming up to bowl as I'm getting my pads on.
Absolutely. I think as a general rule, any overseas bowler is pretty rancid to face in the net, so we'll go with that. Maybe Cody's going to be the same this year when he comes over as well. One to avoid. Ports, who is the worst fielder you've played with?
I could name a few.
Reel them off, Josh. Come on.
I've seen Bagsy drop some absolute howlers in the twos. DT was definitely up there when I played twos with him as well. Who else is there? Connell Doughty loves a bridge in the field, especially on a Sunday. Loves to dive over one. Just to name a couple. I'll not name any more.
Fair enough. Arch.
Again, going back, probably say AD Cheatham. I mean, I know he wants to kill me for that, and I know he wants to kill me anyway. But just the pure comical entity when you're behind the stumps and you see them two shins go together, and just like they hit the ball, hit it. You know what I mean? Just one of them. So,
that's a very, very
quite
good
amusing.
answer, Arch.
It's quite amusing.
Nice to have an honourable mention for AD Cheatham on Bear News. So there we go in the worst fielder. Shan, who would you least like to have spent the last year in lockdown with?
It's a tough question, this. I genuinely couldn't put a name on it. Tongi, because he loves a home workout. It could get quite stuffy in there. A bit. You want a bit of fresh air, but I'm a bit stuck on that one. I didn't really know what to say, so Tongi, you can have it for me, pal.
Yeah. If all else fails, just blame Tongi. I think that's another rule we can put in place. Port.
Again, very tough one. There's not sort of many. If I had to say something, it'd probably be like both the Elliott brothers, in terms of like in the same household. I can imagine.
I like you forming a bubble there, Pause.
Quite hostile
bubble.
One of them.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd hate to have spent a year in isolation with Tees for sure. Who would you least like to go toe to toe with in a drinking competition, Josh Porter?
Oh, quite a few in the ones. I've seen a few people able to sup and probably say someone like a Langers. Someone like a Langers.
All right, fair enough, Shan.
It's interesting because I've never really seen any lads drink much on a night out, but I reckon Jono can swallow a few. I reckon they can go down quite nifty. So
yeah, some of those Copperbergs, the old strawberry and limes.
Can see him. Yeah, that
his reputation precedes himself with the old Copperbergs. Who's got the worst taste in music, do you think, Arch?
I mean, me and Josh have pretty similar tastes with the old Oasis Roses kind of vibe. But who do I reckon has the worst? I can see Langers. Langers having a poor music taste. You know, quite poppy.
Yeah.
Like
14-year-old girl. That's
little mix and that kind of thing. But yeah, Langers.
And Port?
I was going to say Nick Keast.
Keasty never really gets on the decks in the dressing room.
He did it a couple of times at training last summer. I remember bringing Speaker out of the room, and it's just sort of that kind of mindless mainstream pop. And
again,
he loves a TikTok song as well.
Yeah,
he loves a TikTok song as well. He just plays them. He played a few of them as well.
Probably partial to making a couple, you know.
Oh yeah, I have seen that as well.
NK,
I've seen him make a few.
Well, there we go. There's a revelation for Bear News, if nothing else. Ports, who do you think's got the best chat on a night out?
Oh. I'd love to hear what Teabags has to say on a night out, because I see him. You often see him chatting to many women on the course of the night.
It's a numbers game, Paul. It's a numbers game.
But yeah, I often see him chatting to quite a few, and
I'd love
to know what he's chewing her ear off with.
Well, there was the revelation dropped in last week's Bear News that a not so single.
I know. Did see that. So
we're still waiting for photographic confirmation of this. We'll wait and see and report back. What do you think, Arch?
I reckon when he was a youngster, not to say that he's old now, don't kill me, Moose, but I reckon you had a bit of chat with the ladies. I reckon I could see that going down quite well. So
the reputation of the man precedes himself. Old Twinkle Toes Wilson to be seen in the cheeky. And the final question of the teammates is Josh Porter, who was the longest in the shower?
I think Boz is up there. Boz loves a shower. Moose and Langers Senior definitely loves a long shower. He probably takes the cake, to be fair. He's always wanted it lasting, but loves a good long shower as Senior Langers. Fair
enough. And Shan?
Yeah, I'm gonna go for Boz. I can see Boz being that kind of, the speaker's on, he's just in the shower, he's got a beer, he's just enjoying himself. He could be there all night, kind of thing.
Fair enough. I mean, I've seen Bozzy after a cold fielding session. I'm not sure how long he is in the shower, but he does like a long soak in there, if nothing else. Boys, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. I've got one final question just for you, Ports, and that's just an update on Public's official. Last time you were looking for a front man, there was a big fallout in the band. Where are we?
We're in a good place. We've got can provide a bit of we've got a single recorded. We're looking to release that in a couple of weeks' time. It's not been announced yet, so I could get into trouble for saying that. But
hey, mate, you don't want your A&R men coming round freaking strong arm. No, it's good to hear, Paul. We'll all look forward to listen to the new single out soon.
Lovely stuff. Yes, next couple of weeks. Watch this space.
Boys, been an absolute pleasure. I've got to, in a kind of a massive change of events, I've got to do a bit of a sponsored link. So this is how far we've come in Bear News. So this is just a shout out to the guys at Woodstock who we've partnered with. So anybody needs any new gear for the new season, hit up Woodstock, hit up Bozzy because he's got plenty of discount codes for people at the club as well. So get yourself kitted out in Woodstock. So there we are. Who'd have thought I'd have ever done a sponsored link on Bear News? So there we go. Shan, Port, take care of yourselves, boys, and hope to catch up soon.
Cheers, pal. Thank you very much.
Cheers,
fellas.
Cheers.
In a bit.